Hello everyone, this is the LEGO Ninjago Legacy Destiny's Bounty. Now, though this entire set is inspired by Season 1 of the show, this is actually closest to the version of the Destiny's Bounty that we most recently saw in Season 13, the latest. There are no side builds in this set, but it does come with all of the original Ninja team, plus Samurai X, Sensei Wu, and Young Lloyd. Level of detail here is mostly pretty nice, like almost top-notch. Does not quite match that of the LEGO Ninjago movie version of the Destiny's Bounty, but that was a larger and more expensive set. The amount of space here that's actually usable, though, to interact with minifigures is good for the size of the thing. Like, it's a pretty efficient build. This took me over 3.5 hours to put together, so it's a project. It's definitely not a low-end kind of kid-focused build, and that goes for not only the time, the total complexity of it, but also the build techniques. There are a lot of different types of build techniques used for this, a lot of different types of sub-assemblies that go together. You see right there, I'll go ahead and not skip past that, a difference in color. That piece and that piece, well, those are different colors than these newer designs of pieces. Dark red has always been like a cursed color for LEGO. They overtly changed the color of dark red at one point, very slightly, but at all points along the history of the existence of that color in their palette, it has always been inconsistent, and that continues to this day, unfortunately. But yeah, there are a lot of different ways that sub-assemblies are attached together that feel rather awkward at some times, but ultimately the overall look of this, I think the finished product looks plenty consistent. There are just some spots where you can see little bits of blue Technic bits, but I mean, most of that stuff is hidden from most angles. You'll see one area that has exceptions to that. But just generally the display value here is good, and I'll have to, of course, start opening things up to show you the interior and also get into some of the action features. One of the most obvious action features or change features, motion features of this is to raise the sails. So this is a dual mode craft. It goes between its seafaring form and its flight mode. And the main thing you do there to cause that to happen is just push down right here. This right finger, index finger, push down, up come the sails. And this needs to be tuned just a little bit, it looks like. You can adjust individually the angles from side to side, but that's what happens. These sail pieces are good. They're cloth, like a papery cloth, but fairly thick. They feel like they're not going to tear easily. Sun will probably be the biggest enemy to these, followed by possibly mold if you hold this long term in a humid area. But I think these are fairly washable as well. Also definitely re-ironable, like good material. I really appreciate that, because I personally really hated the vinyl that they used previously. It just sort of cheapened everything up quite a bit, in my opinion. But those look pretty good, and the mechanism there is smooth, and you actually have to put it together yourself. Feels like you're doing a little bit of rigging, and it works out. But it does have a little bit of the blue color used for the Technic connectors down there, unfortunately. There's also a windlass up at the forward deck that actually works. So that is connected to chains that ultimately go through the hull and then exit on the sides. Coming down to these, I'll loosen that up a bit more. Let that out. There we go. Coming down to these custom built anchors. That's nice. Not just using the same old anchor piece, but a custom build there that's ultimately based around black colored hot dog pieces or sausage pieces down at the base. It's just, fun, good part usage and everything. And ultimately this mechanism does work pretty well. And ultimately those do hang in a good position and everything. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then to start getting to the interior, we're going to come back to the superstructure area, the cabin area, which includes the wheelhouse and the dojo, of course, in universe. All of this just pulls right off. There are just a couple of studs that attach it. I believe it was it 2 or 4? It's 4 in total with some modified tile pieces. So all that comes up. Doesn't really help you, right? Doesn't really help you with any play value at that point, but I can then take this off the roof. That does only use a total of 2 studs. And then this opens up. So there are plenty of spots to hold on to accessories in there, weapons and such. And it's detailed enough. Just a couple stickers used there. Of course, the banners also use stickers. Just a little bit of repetition there. But I mean, the level of detail here is fine. And, you know, you can angle it up like that so it still feels like an enclosed space and, you know, do your training in here. One thing that is missing is a training dummy. To get to that, I'm going to cheat in the background, reach into the hold in the hull. I'll show you what that looks like momentarily, but I just wanted to get that guy out. It's very important. It's critical. It needs to be there. So it is included. You can put weapons in its little Exoforce robot hands as well. And yeah, that's the full experience. There's also one additional thing for storage. It's built into this, actually. They have the attic space, so not a full extra navigable space where minifigures can go, but we can pull this down. There we go. And right in there, we pull that out. Got a katana there, and then these are just stickers for the wood grain texture. Just use your huge fig crowbars there, pry bars, and get to a pair of shuriken. So that's that. Decent use of space. Not much else that could have been done up there for the scale. So getting back to the rest of the ship, what I did there was take this portion of the deck off to get access to the storage space to get that training dummy out. And that was just connected to one of those clips in the hold that you see there in light gray. The hold has some space, you know, some very usable space, especially for storage, or you can put lots of people down there. There's no furniture or anything, but I mean, it definitely does its job as a hold. You can put a lot more cargo in there. They have one crate, in addition to the training dummy, one crate has just a few small items in it. And other than that, there's nothing else actually taking up this space, but I do want to point out one more clip on the other side, and most importantly, this does have a suggestion of access and semi-realistic access for, if I can get it to kind of focus back there, for a minifigure to actually step down there. So they've got kind of a step ladder or, you know, very steep stairway to get down there. That's nice. It's kind of a luxury for most Lego things, just to be honest. And then this is the area underneath the superstructure or within it. When you take all that off, this is what you're left with. So the helm is there. You can spin this around. Got a couple of stickers used there. Navigational console off to the side. A little bit of storage. I don't recall what orange means for a katana in particular. Forgive me for that. Just it's slipping my mind what that reference would be. Got a lever over here on the side for mostly converting modes between nautical and flight modes, I believe. And that's about that. Honestly, this space here has enough room for a figure. So you can have one person basically at the helm, realistically. And I mean, you can kind of just barely get one behind there. Putting ones on the sides. I'm talking about if you actually put the superstructure back on. It's really limited, you know. The usable space here is not great. Usable space there is good. That's the extent of that. Lastly, I made mention of the classic conversion between floating and flying modes for this. So the floating mode would properly be like that. Flying mode, you obviously bring the sails up to use them as wings. And then remember, these would always turn down. So you can still do that here. There's a little bit of looseness in there. I recommend that you kind of do them together and make sure that all happens properly. Oh, I guess sailing mode also would have had the fin down, but realistically you're going to have the fin down, which is the rudder. When it's in the air, you're not going to have that down when it's on the ground because there's no place for it to go in. This whole thing does not float. So I'm just going to put it like that and use it as an air rudder. And then here are the thrusters. So thrusters come out automatically. There's a whole geared process for that, including some universal joints. So I can bring this down and then, let's see. I've never actually tried it. Yeah, it does work, but it's not that good. It's best to just grab from back here. My first time trying just pushing the thrusters in. Unfortunately, once these come out, they're not able to rotate. So you're not able to really simulate that, that vertical takeoff and landing mode. But, these are just being used for thrust there. But it's a fairly convincing conversion. These do move quite a bit, and the mechanism does work pretty properly. It does require quite a bit of concentration while you're building it to make sure that nothing gets misaligned along the way. So that's a little bit more of an advanced thing as far as the level of complexity and dexterity required for assembly. This is not for the littlest of kids to put together, at least without help. The Season 1 inspired ninja here all have the same builds between them except for their golden weapons. And they do have the modern styles of faces, that were introduced starting with the Ninjago movie and used since then. We got the proper full mold for the Sword of Fire for Kai. Got the more recent dragon hilt used 2 times for the nunchucks for Jay there. And all of these have a combined right pauldron and back scabbard piece, that's done in the same gold color. Got dual molding for the hair pieces, alternate faces for each of these. And in my personal opinion, the prints on the backs of the torsos are pretty good. They're up to par with what's on the front. Here's the rest of those, again, Ninjago movie and beyond version faces. Here are Cole, Samurai X, and old Sensei Wu, when he was actually properly called Sensei Wu still. Remember when we genuinely didn't know the identity of Samurai X? Feels like it wasn't all that long ago, at least to me. But I feel like these are pretty good versions of these characters, updated, not intended to be replicas of the Season 1 versions, but for modernized versions of them. I personally think they're good. I like them. I might even prefer these, now that I think about it, to the originals. Might be sacrilegious to say that, but just the quality here I think is pretty good. Fortunately, I did get actually good printing quality for all of them, and no real mess-ups between them, so the design work is able to shine through. And finally, here's the inevitable green-eyed young Lloyd version. There are 2 faces on that head we'll take a look at. The print for the torso looks pretty good to me. Has a fang blade, of course, and a short cape, a really, really short cape that is the softer style, the more modern style. So you can just flip it up like that. And the biggest deal here really is the updating of the face, it's basically retroactively updated, a retconned version of him, which they all are, honestly. But that's a pretty good job, I think, on the graphic design work there. Still retains the soul of the original little rascal Lloyd while just updating the style a bit. It works for me. It's no surprise there are lots of little spare parts, including lots of weapon pieces in particular. No spare Sword of Fire, though, I'm sorry to say, even though it is basically the same size and complexity as a regular katana or anything. But this is the sticker sheet. Not too many stickers were used here. I mean, almost the majority of the surface area here is covered by just the banners on the sides of the cabin, and then all 4 of these go on the chest that's up in the attic. This comparison here was, of course, inevitable and practically required between the latest version of a big Destiny's Bounty and the huge Ninjago movie version over here. The difference in size kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you just take that initial first glance, like, wow, this is so much bigger. But when you start to really look at what you get and what you can do with it, the shape of the deck of this one lends itself to more use because of its shape. But for the shape of this one, there is very good efficiency. There is plenty of room to walk around. And just generally, the amount of stuff that you can do with this one is not that much less. The height, kind of the shoulder line, there's a significant difference there. This also has the double layer cabin area back here, the main the superstructure of it. But this set did cost between 25 and between a quarter and a third more, and it had between a quarter and a third more pieces as well. Feels like a little bit more than a third more stuff though, as far as its overall bulk. So I feel like this was actually a little bit more efficient for value and for use of pieces compared to the total size of what you got when it's completed, and also what you could do with it. The efficiency of the space, the amount of usable space within this. Plus, shockingly, this one does have a greater level of detail. I'm not sure exactly how that ended up working out. Not sure exactly how that ended up working out. I guess a lot of extra pieces did go into the mechanism for this to turn the fins up and down and to have the thrusters come out. Not so many pieces were used for the raising mechanism there, but the windlass is similar. I think it was the Technic parts that definitely made a big difference. Otherwise, I see so many more small pieces when I look at this compared to this. Let me turn them right on the edge there, but turn them towards you so you can also see the difference in breadth, which is looking very significant, the difference between them. But most of that is because of this extra purely decorative work along the edge that really doesn't do anything. But yeah, that's those. Let me also show you what the two look like from behind, so you can really see the difference in the height of that structure. That's significant, but it is again because this simply has a whole additional level on it, a whole additional layer. So there you go. Still, the movie version is the undisputed king of size, but between the two, I personally feel like this one is a better Destiny's Bounty. Like, this is a better ship and a better Ninjago universe thing to have if you could, if you could afford it, essentially. But this is a better Destiny's Bounty because this is, though a new design, it is fully inspired by the original one, and its overall design is more like the original. It feels more correct. It had one part that snapped off right there, but there we go. Yeah, just feels more proper as the Destiny's Bounty. So the price of this latest one is $130 US for, again, over 1,700 pieces. Look at that price to part ratio. It is fantastic. Ninjago simply continues to be the value leader amongst everything that LEGO does. And there seems to be no evidence of that trend subsiding. I feel like I did cover pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about subjectively as far as like my feelings about this. I don't have much more to say. Overall, the build process was good. This is a very displayable model. Just as is, I'd love to change out just a few little blue Technic connectors. Otherwise, it looks pretty nice and it feels like a high quality item. It feels a little bit advanced again, looks a little bit advanced. The play value is about as high as I could ask for, with one exception being this space right here, between right here and here, space under the deck. Like, if we could actually pull this out, if we could pull the mast up, take a little bit of deck with it and have a forward under deck area that would be usable, that would be absolutely perfect. I could not ask for any more. But some of that space is used for structure to hold up the mast, and some of that space, more importantly, is used for the mechanism to get this to happen and for the thrusters to go in and out. So that's the trade-off for that. I think it's a worthy trade-off. But if you ultimately want maximum space for play, you would probably want to modify this to take that mechanism out, let it just be something you do manually, and kind of hollow that out. Other than that, the one other thing that I don't believe I've covered yet is that there are some fragile bits on this. Again, taking it more towards the advanced side and away from being a good younger kid's toy. There are a lot of little bits that can easily be taken out of alignment, pushed out of alignment, and easily be popped off, like these hot dog pieces here, these curved tiles are not attached all that well, so they can pop off easily. Some of these little frills for the dragon can pop off, and even the anchors themselves don't have the strongest build. Most of it is pretty sturdy. It's just the little things, where you just don't want to get too handsy with it. Like if you want to pick the whole thing up, just think about where your hands are and lift it from underneath. And see, even just right there, my thumbs like automatically wanted to give it some support from the top. And I really recommend that you try to get out of the habit of that. Grab it from underneath. And then you don't have to worry about things like, oh, dang it, where did that go now, Yeah, that's about it for this one. Check out the build. I've got the real-time build, and I've got the speed build if you want to see how it went together for yourself to help you to make a decision on whether this is something that would work for you, for your desires. That's all I've got to say about it, so I hope you enjoyed this. Share your thoughts in the comments if you'd like to, and I'll talk to you again soon.